Hello, I'm Howard Stableford and welcome to the world of concept cars. We'll feature cars you can't buy and you can't drive, and quite often at car shows you can't even touch them either. But even though teams of people have carefully crafted these intriguing creations, usually the main thrust of design has come from one person, and more often than you might think, that person is a British car designer. This week, meet some of the world's top car designers who are British and proud of it. Plus, we'll look at some of their latest creations and try to understand what goes on in their heads. Only on Concept Cars. Volvo had long recognised Newcastle man Peter Horbury's talent, not just for designing cars, but for communicating his knowledge to others with flair and authority. Let's show you part of a fascinating video Peter made to show to his new young designers about some of his own theories of car design.
I believe that Swedish products have always had high respect throughout the world. Sometimes they may have been a little bit out of reach, but they've always offered the opportunity to buy something different and with high quality. I think there's still something exotic about buying goods from another country. Take, for example, buying shoes. A pair of English shoes look nothing like a pair of Italian shoes. Both very desirable, but both very different. Swedish glass and Venetian glass. They're both different as well, but both very, very nice. I think it's this national identity which gives a product something different to offer. And in the car industry, I think there's always been that something special about buying a foreign car. Take, for example, the buyer of a new Jaguar living in Paris. If he opened the door of his Jaguar to find the interior from a Citroën, he'd be rather disappointed. Not that there's anything wrong with Citroën interiors, it's just that he's expecting the Englishness of the wood and leather that Jaguar offers. Or the BMW buyer living in Los Angeles. He opens the door of his BMW, and if he found the red button-down plush from a Cadillac, he'd be rather shocked. He wants the Germanic qualities that BMW offers. So, what is it about Sweden that's different? What is Swedishness?
I felt that if we could associate our cars more with Sweden or Scandinavia in general, then people would see that our cars are designed, let's say, to withstand conditions much worse than other cars. We take it seriously that the Swedishness of our cars, if we can take some of those elements into the car, where Jaguar, for example, might use walnut, where Audi may use some other form of metal or whatever, Volvo could use materials which are inherent to Swedish and our Swedishness, then this idea of the national identity in a product is really enhanced. I think it's a very good thing. I think people still like to buy cars from abroad and other products from specific parts of the world that have their own identity because of that. I would hate to throw out the baby with the bathwater. The things that Volvo have built up over the years, now 75 years of our history is celebrated this year. There's an awful lot of history in there which people remember, and it was very positive. Much of it was things that people remember very well. So what we've done, we haven't done any retro design, but we've reminded people of our past. It's not a repeat, it's a reminder. And by making modern designs which contain those simple design cues from our past that people recognize even just subconsciously, that's enough. If they recognize the Volvo and they say, well, I can see it's a Volvo, but don't ask me why, that's perfect. We've moved on with something very new. At the same time, in the people's minds, they know it's a Volvo. That's perfect. Then they know it's safe, they know it's reliable and functional and everything else that Volvo has stood for over all those years. It's very Swedishness that people have bought and appreciated. The functionality of a Swedish product, the longevity of a Swedish product, and over and above all, I think, because of the caring society of Sweden, caring for people, caring for the environment, and its safety.
So how does a car designer start to dream up a new project? And how do they balance up the need to be fresh and different, along with keeping the look and feel of the car make's history? We asked one of Britain's most talented designers, Jaguar's Callum.
Well, heritage is something that, it depends how people look at it. It depends how the designers look at it, it depends how outsiders look at it. If the outsider's opinions are very strong, including your own management, it can be a real encumbrance and you can't really work with it all the time. But what you've got to do is you've got to take that heritage. As a designer, you have to take that heritage and work with it in a positive way.
Ian's work with Jaguar has shown him the importance of recognising the company's distinguished past, but not being beholden to it.
In other words, what you have to do is try and find the values of that heritage, positive values of the heritage and work with the values of them. And that's not to say that you take a grille shape or a headlamp shape or the shape of a car, which is a mistake a lot of people do. And that's a rather two-dimensional view, and that's a view a lot of people take even within the company, and that's when it becomes incumbent. But if you take a positive view and look at the values of the heritage and work with the values and explain these values to the people you're selling it to, you can make it work.
When Ian Callum joined Jaguar, he had to make a decision.
When I went into Jaguar, I had one of two choices. I can move Jaguar design seamlessly into the next generation from where it had been before, which I fully respect and appreciate. Or I could decide it has to come from me and what I believe to be correct for Jaguar. Now, if I can just take 2 steps back, what I believe to be correct for Jaguar is something I grew up with in the 60s. And this goes back to my reference again, as growing up as a teenager in the 60s and loving E-types and swooning over them through garage windows and all that sort of little boy stuff.
Have you heard the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words? Well, when Ian Callum joined Jaguar as head of design, he was asked to put together an extended report on his views on the design future of the marque. But instead of relying on mere words to make his point, he created this concept car, the R Coupe.
Going into Jaguar, you have to make a statement. You have to write out your manifesto. You have to say, this is what I want to do for the future, this is the next 10 years. How do you do it as an artist or designer? You don't write it out in great reams of writing, although I'm sure there's some people in Ford and Jaguar who'd love to see great reams of writing and all that stuff, but I can't do that, So we produce a concept car that says, this is the basis of how I want to work in the future. And really we did that car not so much to impress the public, although it's nice to get public support, is to impress my own management. This is the way we want to move forward. And what I wanted to show here is this is a modern car that picks up the values that I understand of Jaguar, my values of Jaguar, and take them into the future. And I want you to accept it. And once you accept it, then the door is open for me to move forward. And that was the main motivation behind the car.
Let's travel to Spain, the home of Seat, which is carving its niche as the affordable sports car division of the Volkswagen Group. Take a taste of the Tango, this imaginative concept roadster shown for the first time at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 2001. It was a project kick-started by the arrival of the main Volkswagen boss, Herr Pichterstrieder, in the design office.
It was actually a design brief that came from Mr. Pichterstrieder himself. He came in the studio and said, well, hey, let's if we really want to push the sporty image of Seat, let's do a sports car. We did the Salsa. It was sporty, but not sporty enough. To show a sporty image, we had to do a sports car. So we went away, thought about it a bit, went back to him with a proposal. And he said, yep, okay, go for it. And we went straight away into a one-to-one clay model. And we had very good results with it in Frankfurt.
As it's only a concept aimed at testing ideas on the motoring public, it lacks one essential feature. That's right, a roof of some kind. While a suitable tonneau cover could be provided to keep the interior dry when parked, a completely roofless car would be impractical for everyday use, even in the Mediterranean coastal belt.
We would like to see it as a production car. The public reaction and the press reaction was very good. It was a fun project to do. I think you can see that in the final product, and we'd like to see it in production.
The overall exterior styling is certainly stunning. The bonnet flows up smoothly from the front bumper over the front wheels and around the windscreen before dropping towards the rear wheels. And don't you love those curves? Surely those feminine styling lines aren't there to attract male buyers though, are they?
In a way, yes. No, a car, it can be quite a sexual thing, really. You can see a lot of curvaceous forms in the Tango. And I can let you into a little secret. We actually nicknamed the project when we were doing it Tango. If you look at the rear of the car, it's got this V shape. I won't go into more details, but think about it yourself.
That's all for part 1, but here's a glimpse of some of the concept cars we'll be featuring in part 2. Say the word Volvo and the word safety won't be far behind. Volvo invented the seat belt and has always given safety a high priority with all of its products. This is the SCC, or Safety Concept Car. It has about every safety device known to man on board, or designed in. It's a fascinating piece of kit. After all, the Safety Concept Car is clever enough to call the emergency services should you unfortunately crash. Plus, the car will be able to tell them where you are, how many people are on board, and how bad the accident is. But out of all the safety features they've loaded onto this concept, which ones could be practically used on future cars?
The most obvious things are the electronic things, like the lane change aid that warns you of a car alongside in the blind spot. If you're veering offline, maybe getting tired or not concentrating enough, you're veering over the white lines or onto the rumble strip. Things like that are very simple. The cameras exist, the technology to create the sound inside the car, the warnings, whatever, it's all there. So I think that's probably the next step.
The safety concept will stay as a concept since it's a far too expensive proposition to be made into production. Plus, would you really want your car to tell you off if you get too close to the car in front of you and then, incredibly, slow you down? This is arguably in the cause of safe driving, but surely most drivers can be trusted with driving responsibly, can't they? After all, the ones who aren't responsible won't even consider purchasing a car like this one. This is a neat feature. It has sensors to find where your eyes are. As soon as you get into the driving seat, sensors also measure your weight, and then along with the eye information automatically adjusts the seat and the controls to match your body, so you get a comfortable and safe driving position with all the mirrors adjusted to their optimum position. I've tried it out for myself and it really does work. It's remarkable.
Well, in the today's car, it is the driver who adapts the seating position to the interior, while in the safety concept car, it's completely the way around. We have decided what is the optimal position for the driver in perspective of the perfect view. And with eye sensors, we correct the driver to this position, independent of body size. And after that, all the interiors adapt to the driver's position, such as wheel and pedals.
The fact that the chair didn't move backwards and forwards, it only moved up and down, and that the pedals and steering wheel and gear shift moved towards you, meant that the A-pillars could be designed with a structure that allowed you to see through it.
Visibility is fantastic in this safety concept car. The A or the front pillars in most cars often obscures important information to the driver, particularly in city centres when daffy pedestrians meander in front of your lovely car. Here, Volvo's solution is a see-through A-pillar. But talking of pillars, when you turn your head as a driver, the pesky B-pillar is always blocking your view, but not here, since it's simply been bent inwards to aid visibility.
All-around visibility is one very important parameter when it comes to active safety. Our ambition has been to increase that all-around visibility, and with the see-through A-pillar and the curved B-pillar, we have increased this.
The whole human interface has been carefully looked at so that us poor, fallible, carbon-based sentient life forms can easily understand what buttons to press and when. Plus, visual feedback is increased with TV monitors to help you change lanes and to park. This system is already on some current production cars, such as the new Nissan Primera. But doesn't adding new technological gizmos add to the distraction factor for the driver?
We have no ambition whatsoever to stress technology for the sake of technology. What we would like to do is optimize the human-machine interface. If we add distraction with technical solutions, that is a poor solution and completely unacceptable. If we can take away distraction with technical solutions, it's a good solution, and that is what we try to do with a safety concept car.
The lighting system is intelligent as well, not just a couple of halogens blasting ahead. This Volvo's concept car senses the type of road ahead and creates an appropriate light beam so you can see the maximum possible. It uses something like radar and carbon fibers, but I won't bore you with the details here. The car can sense when you need the light focus or not. It can even look ahead to bends and make the light source bend accordingly. Plus, the car has night vision, which offers a projected windscreen display. Basically, this is an amplified video picture enhanced with infrared technology. The personal communicator is Volvo's system which brings many existing technologies together. After finding out who you are, it can set the car just the way you like it. So you'd like the radio on channel 7, the aircon on 3.5, the seat lumbar position on maximum? No worry, this car will simply remember your presets. This car really has all the bells and whistles you'll ever need. The cheapest safety feature on this concept is the installation of the 4-point safety belt. So how come belts like these haven't been introduced as a standard earlier?
Well, first of all, the most important thing is to get the driver and the passengers to use the safety belt. And as you know, today there are still a lot of people that don't do that. So the first ambition is, of course, to use the safety belt. When you use the safety belt, we have introduced quite a lot of parameters, quite a lot of features that make safety belt using even safer, such as pre-tensioners. With this 4-point safety belt, we have a proposal on something that can be even safer. But what we want to do in this product is to measure the customer's acceptance of using a 4-point safety belt.
And there's the rub. The average punter, certainly in America, and remember that Volvo is now owned by Ford, doesn't like seat belts, full stop. A 4-point version may be seen as even more fiddly. Safety is often low on people's wish lists, unfortunately, but full marks to Volvo for trying to create the world's safest car. Well, next week on Concept Cars, we'll be featuring a whole load of fascinating concepts from General Motors. And as a bit of a curtain raiser, we'll finish tonight by looking at a superb archive film we've uncovered. The year is 1958, and at the General Motors Development Centre, a curious concept car is about to see the light of day for the first time. Looking a bit like the Batmobile with its twin-domed roof, these nice gentlemen in white coats are about to show an open-mouthed world, the Firebird 3. Here's Bob McClain, the styling engineer of General Motors in the late 1950s, to tell us all about it.
Firebird 3 is the third in a series of experimental cars we have helped design here at General Motors Styling. Firebird 1 was a high-performance vehicle and reflects the sweeping lines of a jet fighter. Firebird 2 was styled as a family car with additional engineering features. In designing Firebird 3, our job at Styling is to integrate the new developments of research and engineering into a fully operational, eye-appealing car.
In 1958, they didn't have computer-aided design. The Firebird 3 was created with the use of cardboard cutouts.
We start with a man, Oscar, and design the car around him. Basically, we need a passenger capsule and a power package. By putting a control stick here at Oscar's side, we could develop a new means of entry and give Oscar a semi-reclining seat to put him in the most comfortable driving position.
How do they know Oscar the cardboard cutout is comfortable? He can't speak back. But it gets better. This concept has got 2 engines. There's a huge gas turbine engine behind the passengers, but to run the generator and the pumps efficiently and at constant speed, there's a small piston engine as well. So how did they work out the weight distribution? On a couple of kitchen scales. These were pioneering days, and if equipment borrowed from the canteen works, then why not? And here are stylists Norm and Stefan, who tell us they have a high-tech ace up their sleeves. String.
We start with basic seam sketches, preliminary ideas that help us over the first formative stages of design. Then, we translate these sketches into side views of the car, using these fluid lines of colored yarn to work out the various combinations of curves.
Oh, sorry, coloured yarn, is it? Excuse me. But once the shape of the car is designed, it's time to reveal the cool gadgets to go inside the Firebird 3 concept. Remember, this is 1958, and some of these ideas would have been wildly before their time.
Unit control is a new concept in steering, designed to simplify your driving task. This system uses specially developed electronic computers.
Oh, electronic computers, eh? As opposed to the clockwork ones, I suppose. Of course, it's easy to scoff, and it's fun too. But this concept was the first to use what we call today a joystick. It's easy to do today with true fly-by-wire technology, but back then, it was a right pain. But that's nothing compared to AutoGuide, a system they worked on which makes the car actually drive itself.
2 pickup coils mounted under the front of the car straddle a current-carrying wire embedded in the highway.
I don't know if I would trust being driven along a road by a wire under the road, but in theory it's a clever idea. But the Firebird 3 of 1958 was packed with other gadgets which were ahead of their time, such as an advanced air and oil suspension system, brake drums combined with the wheels, and anti-skid devices. I've never seen so many white coats this side of an ice cream man convention. Were they worried a bit of pullover fluff would jam their precious Autoglide system? But many hands make light work, and as the finished concept car makes its way to the Arizona desert proving ground, the search is on to find a suitable test driver. What's that you're saying, dear viewer? You'd like to volunteer? Be my guest. First of all, you'll need to squeeze the so-called sonic key, and the door opens. The sonic key is also needed to start the engines. First the little accessory motor at the front, then the huge gas turbine beauty behind. Ah, you're learning fast. A quick check of the brake flaps. Then remember how to use the new controller. That's right, you revolve the controller to go into drive, then it's a push forward to go forwards. It's all a bit strange, isn't it? As you just need to sneeze or a passenger to jerk your hand and you'll be all over the place. But you never know, this joystick system could replace steering wheels one day. Of course, if you want a rest from all this stressful driving, simply set the cruise speed and release the stick. But this is no simple cruise control. Your car is now steering, following the wires in the road. Wow, this really is the future!
Your future. Brought closer today by the Firebird.
But of course, this is all in General Motors' past now. And next week, we'll be taking a look at a whole host of amazing modern-day concepts from the world's biggest automotive company. See you then!